Hey guys, here I am, having a bit of a break at the moment. Can catch the tail going completely nuts. This is Bob. You'll have to excuse some of the dried blood stains on my bed sheet. I'm due to have a sheet change tomorrow, and it's all the joys of having psoriasis, I'm afraid. Um, it is what it is. Sorry, it looks a bit grotty and it's really disgusting, but it is what it is. The joys of having medical conditions. Yeah, this is Bob. Do not be fooled by his cuteness. He is not amused at the moment, hence the tail thumping along. He's having his claws clipped as best as I can. I sort of do so many that he, will allow me to do. He's an absolute nightmare. He really is for getting his claws. They just seem to go really long, really quickly. He is a sleeper. He likes to sleep on the bed 90% of the time. The last visit to the vets was absolutely horrific. I couldn't get him into the carrier. My son couldn't get him in the carrier either. We had to throw tuna flakes into this dog crate and basically shove the door behind his bum and push him in. Because he really was not playing ball. We already had to cancel one appointment because we couldn't get him in, and he was just going absolutely wild. We've got to remember that Bob was on the streets for 5 years. Yeah, he was on the streets for 5 years. His nice owners decided to move out and leave him and his mate behind to fend for themselves. So, yeah, great. So, anyway, his mate basically moved in with a lady that lived not too far away from his original home. Bob, on the other hand, yeah, he became a nightmare to catch, didn't trust people. And for 5 years he was on the streets. It's only when the lady that his mate moved in with, she's noticed Bob and the state of him, how he was getting, and he was looking very, very poorly. And she thought he'd moved in with somebody, but like Patch, but no, Bob was completely on the streets. And yeah, and it's only when they put cat traps out for him, and it's the only way they could catch him because he was in such a bad shape. He had to have surgery on his mouth, hence why around his mouth area looks as it is, because his mouth was completely rotten. Yeah, I'm talking about you. Yeah, and he had other things done as well whilst he was there under the anaesthetic, and then he was put up for homing. I saw his picture, fell in love with this really sad face. I just cried when I saw him because he just looked so sad. And yeah, I inquired. It took a lot of time for the home inspection and everything else to go through, and permission to be granted from the housing association to let me have him, and we had him. Yeah, he's absolutely perfect. He's such a wonderful lad. I mean, he really sort of clings to me a lot. He notices when I'm very down and in a lot of pain, and he knows when to back off when I'm really, really feeling stressed out with my pain. He does. He knows to back off. He knows when to come. He just knows my temperament very well. That sounds so good, I know. But yeah, he does. He understands. And he understands as well that I'm trying to cut his claws We went to the vets just after the end of the first lockdown, and we made an appointment for him, and one of his claws had embedded into his pad, so it was bleeding and he was sore and a lot of pain, and he didn't want to go in the carrier. We had to ring the vets up and ask them to move the appointment back because we couldn't get him in the carrier. The only way we could get him in was because he was so angry. He just did not want. He was nobody's friend. I couldn't get him. My son couldn't get him, and it was a case of sorry, Bob. It was a case of the lure of the tuna. We put some tuna flakes in, and then when he stuck his head into the dog crate that I got, we pushed the door behind his bum and pushed him in, a bit like Hansel and Gretel in the oven. That sounds so good. And yeah, at the vets, he was so angry. The vet that was there was attacked by him. They had to get this big kit out from a special room, like you see with police dog training, the big attack gloves and all sorts of equipment that were coming out just to sort him out. He was screaming his head off. He was vile. They wouldn't let me in because of the COVID restrictions, the meter distancing and stuff like that. So we couldn't go in to even comfort him a little bit, because I think with me being in the room would have made a big difference, I think he must have felt very abandoned. But so I've got some long handle scissors that are like this, because they're long enough basically to give a bit of distance between me and any cat that I happen to use with them. And I just trim the claws. I just do as best as I can, and I've managed to get some of them because I've got some lovely bits of leftover claws. I'm going to have to get a bit of a hoover out quickly in that patch before I go to bed. So, but I've put a couple of YouTubers on, because what I tend to do is when I come up to bed, I put on those vegan guys and a couple of other YouTubers, and he seems to look over my shoulder to see what I'm watching, and I'll even show him, and sometimes he'll sit down with me and watch with me. So I thought if I put something on familiar, so I've just watched one of those vegan guys' videos, and he's allowed me to do like one pad that's not been touched at all for a while, and they were really, really long. There's only one that I've got to get at on that paw, but I'm sure I can get it, which is of this one here. But I think I'm pushing my luck now if I do any more, because he's really not happy. That tail thump is telling me a lot, because he will fly at me. He's done it once before. But I think it's just easier to do it here, where he's very relaxed and he's in his own environment, than at some vets that he's not happy with. He had a bad experience at one vet we went to before, at a different vet, and the vet who did his claw clip went for the one that was ingrown first, and she actually cut his pad, so it's like cutting above your fingernail, so of course he was raging. So I think he remembers this every time he has his claws messed with. So I tried to do it at home, nice calm environment, and just do it as best as I can. And any that I really can't do, then the vets can have to do, but at least it saves any pain and discomfort and makes it as minimal as possible. So, especially given his history. Right, I'm going to love and leave. I've done quite well, I think. I'll try and do some more claws tomorrow of his. He's the only one really I have to bother with to do a claw clip. There is one other cat that I do have a bit to do with, because his claws seem to get longer now. I don't know if it's age or what, but it's just how he is. But he's quite good to get at. And the others, well, they're usually climbing up stuff and that, so that their claws are very sharp. Youngest one I don't have to do at all because she climbed up my curtains and everything else still. But yeah, we'll see. Right, Mr. Bob, I'm going to let you sleep and I'm going to go. So, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Ta-ra!